All right, ready to unlock some serious potential.
I think we're about to.
Today's deep dive is all about Texto Pagado.
Fascinating stuff.
It lays out 7 mental laws for self-improvement, which, let's be honest.
Who couldn't use a little more of that?
Right. Have you ever felt like, okay, there's got to be more to life than this?
Like you're capable of so much more.
Exactly. And Texto Pagado says that potential is already within us. We just need to understand how to tap into it.
And that's where these 7 laws come in.
Okay, so law number 1, the law of control. It feels pretty intuitive, right?
Just
Like the more control we feel over our life.
The better we feel overall.
Yeah. But Texto Pagado takes it a step further.
It's not just about feeling in control on the surface. It's about cultivating a genuine belief. Well, a belief in your ability to influence outcomes in your own life.
So it's not just wishful thinking. There's like actual science to back this up.
Absolutely. Psychologists call this an internal locus of control. And studies show a strong link between this mindset and, well, greater achievements.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, well-being.
Makes sense. When you believe in yourself, good things tend to follow. Okay, but what happens when we don't feel in control?
That's where things can get a little...
Gacy.
Yeah. And Texto Pagado calls this the law of accident.
The law of accident. So if we're not in control,
Mm-hmm.
we're basically leaving things up to chance.
Exactly. It's easy to kind of fall into that trap of just,
Yeah.
letting life happen to us.
Yeah.
But Texto Pagado argues that if we're not actively setting goals, if we don't have a clear direction in mind, we're essentially choosing to be swept along by circumstance.
Which, let's be honest, rarely leads to the destination we were hoping for.
Right. Think about it this way.
Okay.
It's like that saying.
Yeah.
What is it? If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there.
Oh, I like that.
But what if?
Mm-hmm.
What if you end up somewhere you don't even want to be?
That's a good point. It's like we need a map, or at least a compass.
And that's where this fundamental principle comes in. The law of cause and effect.
Okay, lay it on me.
This one always feels to me almost like, like physics, but applied to life.
I can see that.
Every action has a reaction.
Right. To get different results,
Right.
we need to change our actions.
That's
classic.
Exactly. But here's where Texto Pagado says it gets really interesting. It's not just our actions that matter,
Oh.
but our thoughts. It argues that our thoughts are the most powerful cause of all. Whatever we focus on, what we believe. These things set a chain of events in motion.
You're saying that what I'm thinking can actually influence what happens to me.
Exactly. Texto Pagado is all about that mind-body connection. Change your thinking, and you begin to change your whole life.
Whoa, okay. That's kind of mind-blowing, honestly.
It's powerful stuff.
And it makes this next law even more intriguing. Texto Pagado calls it the law of belief. Basically, it claims that what we believe to be true, quite literally, becomes our reality.
Our beliefs act like filters. They color everything.
Filters.
We tend to see what we expect to see, even if the evidence suggests otherwise.
It's like we're kind of trapped by our own perspectives.
Yeah. In a way, yes. And Texto Pagado illustrates this with a fascinating anecdote. Do you remember the story about that student? The one who thought his IQ score meant that he was in, like, the bottom 2% of students?
Oh, right. And it turned out, what was it?
His score actually placed him in the top 98th percentile.
He had the potential to excel all along, but he was limited by this false belief he had about himself.
Exactly. It really makes you think.
It does. How many of us are walking around with those kinds of self-imposed limitations,
And that's the really empowering thing about all of this. By identifying and challenging these limiting beliefs, we can unlock incredible new possibilities for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not just about positive thinking either. It's about aligning our beliefs with the reality that we want to create.
So, if the law of belief is about our internal assumptions, what about our external world? Like what we're projecting outward? Is that where the law of expectation comes in?
Precisely. And Texto Pagado argues that what we expect, we're much more likely to find, even if those expectations seem, well, unfounded. Think about that famous experiment by Rosenthal with the teachers and their expectations.
Oh, right. What was it they found again? Wasn't it about how the teachers were led to believe that certain students were like high achievers or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the thing is, those students were randomly selected.
Okay.
There was no real difference between them and the other students at the start.
But then?
But because the teachers believed in their potential, guess what? Those students actually ended up performing better.
Wow. No kidding. You know, I actually remember hearing about that study. It's wild to think about. It's like their expectations became a self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's a powerful example for
Hmm.
sure. Our expectations, whether they're conscious or unconscious, can really shape reality.
Yeah. And it's not just other people's expectations of us, but also our expectations for ourselves, right?
Exactly. Texto Pagano really emphasizes that. Like if we constantly expect the worst.
We might just sabotage our own success before it even has a chance to start.
Exactly.
It makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, how much of my own negativity is self-inflicted, you know? What does Texto Pagano say about breaking free from that cycle?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The law of attraction,
Ah, here we go.
which Texto Pagano dives into next,
Mm.
suggests that.
Well, that we have a lot more power than we might realize to influence our own reality.
Okay, yeah, I've heard a lot about the law of attraction over the years, but to be honest, I'm always up for a good deep dive. So break it down for me. It's like, Ori, like attracts like.
Essentially, yeah. Basically, it's this idea that well, we're all energy, right?
Sure.
And our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, everything we do, it all emits a certain frequency. And that frequency attracts similar energies back to us.
So positive attracts positive.
Right. And, well, negative attracts negative.
Makes sense. So if I'm constantly, I don't know, tuned into a channel of worry and self-doubt.
Think of it like tuning a radio almost.
Yeah. If I'm only listening to that negative station, I'm going to get more of the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I can shift that dial to something more positive, a frequency of gratitude,
Yeah.
of abundance.
Exactly. Then I can start to attract those kinds of experiences instead.
Precisely. You begin to align yourself with those experiences that you want to create. Now, it's not about denying the challenges of life. There will always be challenges.
Of course.
It's more about choosing to focus on the good, cultivating an attitude of possibility.
I love that. An attitude of possibility. And Tex Pagano ties all this together with the final law, right?
Yes.
The law of correspondence.
As within, so without.
This one always feels big to me.
It is a big one. It's about recognizing how interconnected everything is, you know.
Like our inner world,
Yes.
our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, all of that affects our outer world.
Absolutely. If we want to change our relationships, for example,
Or our careers, our health.
any of it, the journey has to begin within.
That reminds me of that saying, what is it? You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails.
I like that.
We might not be able to control everything that happens to us in life, right?
Right.
But we can control how we respond.
And that all starts with taking responsibility for our own inner world.
Exactly. Texto Pagano really drives that point home, doesn't it?
It does. True transformation, it argues, doesn't come from, well, it doesn't come from trying to force those external circumstances to change.
Okay.
It comes from cultivating the qualities that we want to see, that we want to experience from within ourselves.
So it's about embodying it, essentially. Like if you want more love in your life, you have to be more loving.
Yes, exactly. And if you want more abundance,
You have to cultivate a mindset of gratitude, of generosity.
that's it. You got it.
It's not just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about aligning our actions and our entire being with the reality that we want to experience.
Well said.
Which, you know, it brings us back to something you mentioned earlier about the law of belief.
Yeah.
Because if we really believe that we can create our own reality, that's incredibly powerful.
It is.
And there was that really powerful quote from Texto Pagano, too, right? Something about the mind being able to achieve what it can conceive and believe.
Yes. It says, the mind of a man can conceive and believe is what the mind of a man can achieve.
It's a good thing to keep in mind. It really is. I mean, that's both exhilarating and a little terrifying, don't you think? To think that we really do have that much power.
It is a big realization. But the good news is, Texto Pagano reminds us, well, it reminds us that we're not starting from scratch, you know.
We're not.
We already have that innate power to shape our reality,
Yeah.
even if we haven't always been conscious of it.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better. But how do we, I don't know, how do we tap into that power more intentionally?
That's where these 7 laws come in. Think of them like a roadmap, you know.
Oh, yeah.
They can help us.
So
They can guide us toward using that power more intentionally, more effectively.
it's about learning how to use the tools we already have.
Exactly.
I like that. So all this to say, what could we achieve if we really embraced these laws? I mean, really lived by them every single day. What kind of dreams would we dare to dream if we truly believed anything was possible?
Those are the big questions, aren't they? And Texto Pagano leaves us wrestling with those questions, which I think is important
Mhm.
because it's not just about You know, it's not about just understanding these laws intellectually. It's about embodying them.
So it has to go deeper than just thinking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It has to transform our actions, our interactions.
It's a way of life.
It is. It's a lifelong journey, really.
Yeah.
A journey of self-discovery and deliberate creation.
I love that. Deliberate creation. Okay, so we covered a lot of ground today.
We did.
We went from like feeling in control
To the power of belief.
yeah, to expectation.
Attraction.
Even attraction. Honestly, this deep dive has been a lot, but in the best way possible, you know?
It's a lot to digest. But even small shifts in perspective can make a big difference. Maybe it's, maybe it's deciding to challenge a limiting belief that's been holding you back, or setting an intention for the day from a place of, genuine expectation.
It's about taking action, right?
Exactly. Every step we take towards aligning ourselves with these laws,
Yeah.
well, it's a step towards unlocking our true potential.
I love that. So, to our amazing listeners out there, what resonated with you the most today? What's one small step, just one, that you can take today, right now even, to start putting these laws into practice in your own life? Because remember, just like Texto Pagano says, the power to shape your reality, well, it lies within you. So until next time, keep exploring these ideas, keep believing in yourselves, and keep diving deep.